Yo, 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 you tuning into the Notion Podcast. I'm your host, Dspill. And man, do we have another crazy, I shouldn't say crazy, I'll say more informative or educational episode of the Notion Podcast. Of course, it is just me, but as far as it being just me, I hope you guys are okay with that. But we're going to get into it, man. I don't want to waste any time. I hope everybody's doing good. I hope everybody enjoyed Mother's Day. I hope everybody enjoyed the Memorial Day weekend. Most people got about 3 days off from work. So I hope you're rejuvenated and ready for another week. Summer's around the corner. But without further ado, this first topic I want to get into real quick, honestly, help me understand Black women's frustration just a little bit more. And it's not like this is the first time I've heard something like this that might be triggering to the sisters, but this is definitely a good reminder for some of us brothers, right? But I have my strong critiques and criticism on certain things that I see that's on social media, that's been promoted on a social level. And, sometimes I have to be a voice for the men. I have to be a voice for us men when I hear certain things or when we cover certain things on the Notion. But something that came to my attention and that had me posing a question was RG3. And for those that don't know, for the women that don't know, who RG3 is, RG3 is Robert Griffin III. He was a pretty phenomenal quarterback in high school and in the NFL before he got injured. He played for the Commanders, formerly known as the Redskins. That's who he was drafted by. He was actually drafted the same draft class as one of my favorite quarterbacks before they had an early retirement, Andrew Luck. The thing about RG3 is, he was in that Black quarterback conversation. And since his career was ended short, he just, he's been doing sports analyst work, like a lot of former athletes and things of that nature. I wasn't aware of his dating life or his marriage status until this article came out. But, of course, RG3 is married to a white woman. But that's not abnormal. We see interracial stuff, especially right here in California. We see that stuff all the time, right? It's more common now than 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? But the thing that made it interesting was one of the brothers on the Pivot podcast, forgive me for, not knowing his name off rip, decided to take aim at RG3 because of the comments he's made about white women and kind of downplaying the sisters at the same time. And of course, like I said, this is going to pose some questions, but, it's some men that's not here for it. And my thing is, just to get in more in detail, basically, that's who it was. It was Ryan Clark. So there we go. Ryan Clark from the Pivot podcast has some words over his Angel Reese comments saying he always liked, he tall glass of milk jokes and stuff like that when he was dealing with white women and just that whole colorism thing. Now, I'm going to be transparent. For those that know me, I hate the colorism conversation. It just feels like it's another bullet to add to the clip of racial divide within the Black community. And even though the light skin, dark skin thing has been comedic at times, it has been very detrimental in a lot of aspects in our community. Now, as far as in colorism jokes, it's like, yeah, I understand how tiring that could be for many sisters, probably, especially the ones that probably had to deal with things in high school because of their skin tone. But when you're talking about white women and, labeling them this and that, and then labeling sisters in a certain type of light, it gets real intense, I'll say, right? And my thing, this is my honest opinion, so there's no question. And, for y'all in the comment section, I love to argue. My opinion is I think it's totally okay to date whoever you want to date. We live in different times. We live in totally different times that I grew up in. And I'm set in my ways in a lot of ways I grew up, but I also am able to acknowledge the different times that we live in. With that being said, RG3's comments bigging up white women, they are corny. When he sees a white woman and he's referring to them as a glass of milk or a tall glass of milk, apparently that's his thing when he's around certain women or white women, if that's his way of being funny, or when he's acknowledging white women. I think it's lame more than anything. It's corny more than anything. And I can see how sisters might get a little offended or it might rub them the wrong way. But it's just goofy because you're really supposed to be with somebody and rock with somebody because of who they are as a person and what they mean to you and how they can add to your life. Once you start doing the whole racial thing to that person, I can only imagine for people that are in an interracial couple that have gotten those uncomfortable comments or feelings. I don't know. I just look at that whole situation and those type of conversations is really awkward, and it really takes away from the transparency and the connection you're supposed to have with somebody because of who they are. But with RG3 in his comments, it did help me pose a question to myself that's probably been asked to me from a sister or probably even my own wife. And that question is, when a guy like that, right? And you know what? Let's do this. Sisters, when you see RG3, and I already told you who this guy is, so if you've looked him up, if you haven't, look up RG3, Robert Griffin III. When men like this, when brothers like this make comments about them being with a white woman and them feeling the way about black women, does it trigger y'all just because of the conversation? Just because he has is it the audacity that triggers y'all? If the reason why I want to know that is because when you look at dude look like something off Bug's Life. So I know, or I wouldn't think that most sisters would be triggered because they're disappointed in a man's appearance and him happen to look good or whatever the case is, as being just being a situation where you're attracted, they said something that's out of pocket, and now you feel away, because it's like, dang, I was really hoping you were this or you were that. So I just want to know, do you guys, do sisters really be upset because of the audacity or because of the potential of what you thought that person was? And the reason why I asked that question is because I know that we got some Sambos in the community, and I know that we got some people that don't care nothing about the black family and this, that, and the other. I'm not talking about if your preference is that. I just really mean like people that don't care about what's going on and they're not involved in any type of way, and just so happen they don't date their own either. That's the people I'm talking about. But when you have people like, we're gonna have those people in the community, and for me, I just feel like you're already not cute, you're already not pretty, you already don't contribute to nothing. So it doesn't faze me. It just helps me understand how to identify these out, like I said, these Sambos. So when y'all get upset, what is the most triggering thing? I want to know, because I might want to cover this more. What is so triggering about black men that you don't even want or are not even attracted to speaking loud and proud on their preference? Because, and the reason why I want to know is because for me, if I see somebody that's not even a factor or a contributor to whatever it is we got or I got going on, I'm gonna just let them talk to themselves and be a fool by themselves. That's just me. I mean, I might cover it here on the podcast for conversation, but deep down inside, it's not gonna trigger me. It's not gonna bother me at all. Like, that's just straight up what it is. Yeah, it's not going to bother me at all. And for me, not to say that, well, by the way, I'm not trying to say that you guys shouldn't be offended. I'm just curious on what the trigger is behind that. But my final synopsis on RG3 and people like RG3, for the record, and I can even speak for both of my co-hosts who are not here right now. When it comes to black women, all three of us love them. You know, we all got one. You know, oops, didn't know that fact, right? Not only that, but when it comes to downplaying a sister or downplaying any part of our culture because of your current experience with another culture, you're lame, you're trash, and yeah, you should get your culture card revoked. You know, your black card, whatever card we give you or you were born with, you should get that revoked. You got to earn that back, and with 50% interest. You know what I'm saying? But I think that stuff is lame. I think there's a way, even not even just on that level, but like even when you have something good, I think it's lame when you try to be condescending to other people because of your current experience at the moment. And we all know that we have seasons. In friendships, in relationships, and in family, we got seasons where it's good and seasons where it's bad and seasons where it stays that way for certain relationships and there ain't no recovering. But the point is that it's good in the moment until, you know, life really throws a test at you. So my message to the men, to the brothers out there that don't prefer a sister and that are not with sisters, I don't judge you, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being who you truly want to be with. However, if you start downplaying the sisters because you got something different, you lame, you trash, and you probably don't have anything better than a sister. And the same thing goes with some of these sisters that don't want us brothers out here. You don't have an upgrade. That's just your personal choice. Just like, you know, what's the saying? Y'all know the saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. That's very true. Well, one man's terror is one man's trouble is the next man's terror. Is what I was gonna say. I was just thinking about it. That's true too. Not everybody runs into the best thing after they get out of something crazy. But just don't downplay the people. That's all I'm saying. Don't downplay the culture. I hold the culture accountable all the time, whether it's men, especially our women. I definitely do. But don't downplay the culture. We're not this way. The reason why I hold our community accountable is because I know what we can do. History has shown what we can do and who we really are. And besides, the day I stop holding black folks accountable will be the day I truly don't care anymore. And I don't see that happening. I'm proud of our heritage. I'm proud of who we are. So don't downplay the sisters, bruh, because you think you got you something special, because you'll never have anything better than a sister. We just ain't going to judge you for your choices and your preferences because that's what you want. And the same thing goes with brothers out here. When you downplay the men in our community and think that you're going to get something better out there, that might be for your experience currently. But at the end of the day, you ain't never going to find nothing better than us, because we understand you better than you understand yourself sometimes on a cultural level and on other type of levels for another conversation. So if you're going to have that type of attitude towards the sisters, or you're going to have that type of attitude towards the brothers, well, then we're going to give you that real attitude on what we think about your decisions. So that's all I'm going to speak on now. RG3, enjoy your milk, bruh. Stop worrying about what's on the grill, man, over here in the community. And just enjoy your milk. Stop speaking on us. Now, of course, we're going to get into it. We've already been talking about it, but I just wanted to have a different type of conversation about what's going on. Of course, with the Diddy and in his case, of course, the ongoing Papoose and Remy Ma drama, which is embarrassing as hell. I'll get into that. And of course, the Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion thing. And I'm gonna mix it up for a minute. We're gonna talk about the elephant in the room as far as, you know, the Diddy trial, but let's get down to the facts with this. Meg Thee Stallion is making herself look even more crazier. And as far as like the fans, we already know public opinion is going to be split. Right now, there's a war between men and women, especially black men and black women. But let's hold on for a minute. Let's pump brakes for a minute and just look at some other details that I think we fail to look at when it's time to really have these discussions. For starters, for the women out there that are still continuing to support Meg Thee Stallion because however you feel about men or however much you don't like Tory Lanez or however much you love her music, just think about it for a minute. When it comes to Tory Lanez's situation, if you got a brother, imagine if your brother was in Tory Lanez's situation. All right? Imagine if that was your daddy in that Tory Lanez situation, if, you know, obviously co-parenting situation. But imagine if that was somebody important, your favorite male best friend that's in the Tory Lanez situation. They already had evidence. For y'all that don't know or didn't really follow the trial, there was 0.01 chance that he had DNA on that gun from whatever they found out in forensics. That's how much DNA would have been in the gun or how much was on the gun. So he obviously couldn't have shot Meg Thee Stallion. On top of that, there was an argument and an altercation. And when you listen to the story, it sounds like something off Boondocks. They leave Kylie Jenner's house because they're beefing. And then what ends up happening is they get into an argument. And after they get into an argument, Tory Lanez pulls a gun out because she gets out the car and hits her with the Wild Wild West dance, be dance. Come on, y'all. Now, apparently, there's some ring door footage that's critical to the case that'll prove that Tory Lanez never did it. Of course, that most people believe that Meg Thee Stallion's friend Kelsey was the one that did it. Those two were arguing, and that was the theory story. Those two were arguing over Tory because they found out that he was messing with both of them. So now they both mad that Leprechaun in the Hood was knocking them both down. And what ends up happening, Kelsey pulls the gun out. Not to mention, it's Kelsey's gun, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. They said it was Kelsey's gun, right? Anyways, and Tory probably tried to stop it or whatever the case was. Gun went off. He didn't want to snitch, and there was probably more parts to the story to why he couldn't take the stand or whatever. But here are the facts. The dude has been stabbed 14 times in the result of being in jail. There's a conspiracy behind that. But the point is now there's more things coming forward with this whole he might not have did it. Now, I didn't believe he did it. Meg Thee Stallion was lying too many times, and all that crying she was doing on a Gayle King interview, and I don't think I seen one tear go past the tear duct. I don't even know if the eyes was watering. I just don't believe her, straight up. I don't. And now more stuff is coming out towards proof. It looks like this whole circus was a real circus. So, never was really crazy about both artists. I think Tory Lanez is very talented, but it's not like I just listen to his music all the time. I even think Meg Thee Stallion is very talented. But honestly, I really hope that if this is true and Tory Lanez, they're able to prove that he really didn't do anything, and for the women that believe that all the way down to even evidence proven otherwise, man, we got to have a conversation for real. And I hope that the women that are in support of her, even though she's been lying and playing in everybody's face like she's saying Tory is, man, you really, really need to reevaluate your moral compass and your morals. And you really need to evaluate what are you really angry about. Because we lash out. We hardly lash out at the direct thing, the direct source of the anger. We lash out at the most vulnerable thing when that anger gets triggered. But you guys got to really think about that, because there's too many scenarios. There's scenarios where we know people are guilty. I mean, people wasted no time thinking Diddy was guilty. But like I said, we'll get into that. But as far as like the whole, a lot of men being innocent, I mean, you're starting to see these stories more. Johnny Depp situation, you're starting to see a lot of different scenarios come forward where people are being vindicated and everything else. And we just been going with a system or an ideology or a movement blindly because of whatever reason, and we're getting certain people put away that don't deserve to be put away, and the real problems are still roaming the world freely. So when it comes to Tory, man, hey, brother, keep your head up, get up out of there. Hopefully they prove your innocence. But man, this is really not looking good for Meg Thee Stallion. It really isn't. And it's looking scary now because that could be any one of us, straight up. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was crazy. Meg Thee Stallion sounds crazy. She's putting out more content, and that's another thing I was gonna get at with a lot of these women in the industry, man. But she got on her TikTok or whatever and wrote this crazy message that didn't even make any sense. And it's just, like I said, she looking bad. She sound guilty. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know those people, how they talk and how they get down and how they move and how they try to, intimidate you when they lying or they guilty. That's the energy I kind of got from what Meg Thee Stallion's been doing. But moving along into this Remy Ma Papoose thing, yo, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of them. I am tired of that being a part of hip hop news. I really didn't care too much about them being together. I think it was a cool little story, him holding her down while she was in jail. I think it was even a Love and Hip Hop thing, whatever the case it was. I do like Papooses music. He's super talented. I think he should have went farther than he did. Not to downplay his career, but I just think he was slept on to many. But man, I don't care about y'all and y'all relationship. I got my own relationship. I got my own problems, just like everybody else do. But I'm going to keep it 100. Remy looks bad to me. And the reason why Remy looks bad to me is because when she stayed quiet, even though the media was talking about how dirty she was doing Papoose and how he was with Easy the Block Captain or whatever the case it was, and she'd been running around with him and cheating on Papoose with him, because she was quiet, I'm going to keep it real, there was a part of me that did feel like, well, I don't know, maybe she might not be 100% guilty. Maybe there's something. When that other side is silent, I don't care who you are. Unless there's just straight smoking gun in that person's hand, you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt because of their silence, because there's nothing you can really go off of with what they say or what they do or their body language or how emotional they sound to give you an indication if they're lying or not. That silence just leaves that what if aura there, and you might pick a side, but you still have that benefit of the doubt when people are quiet like that. That silence is very loud in certain situations, and y'all know what I'm talking about. But the way she's coming out, and then Papoose making it worse too, because then he's speaking, and then what I didn't like. So let me tell you what I didn't like about what Remy's situation is she went from being quiet to airing this dude out. Now she calling the dude ugly. He tried to pawn her jewelry. He took all of her money. He never wrote any of her songs. He just be playing 2K all day. I don't know if she said that, but I swear when a black dude is in the doghouse, he always on the game too much. So I'm gonna throw that in there. But the thing is like she had all of these things to say about him, which I thought was trashy. And I'm going to tell you why I thought it was trashy of her. And then Papoose just had to say something. Bro, you was kind of winning. If you didn't realize you was kind of winning this fight, and people was kind of on your side, and then you started airing stuff out. I wrote all of her songs. Matter of fact, some of those is my vocals. Like all of this different stuff, he come out saying all of this. And I thought that was lame. I thought that was hella lame. But he's running around saying all of this. She's running around saying all of what? She's talking about he's holding up the divorce. They're talking about he probably don't have the money for it. He online now counting a whole bunch of hundreds. Like, so what my issue is with both of them is you guys have a daughter that's in school. Pap, you got kids that are in school. Bullying is at an all-time high on social media, and you guys are famous in the hip-hop community, and you have kids, and you guys are online doing this. Matter of fact, if your daughter come home and get in trouble for arguing with somebody at school, what the hell you gonna say? You shouldn't be arguing in school. That's embarrassing. Nigga, you shouldn't be on the internet arguing. That's embarrassing. Missed, but you still wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Come on, y'all. Like, they look so stupid. And here's the crazy part. They both moved on. That's the illest part of this scenario is they both moved on and they're both going back and forth, flashing money. He's a jewelry thief. She's a song stealer, whatever the case it is, right? And I kind of feel bad for Clarissa Shields. And the reason why is because I seen clips of her Breakfast Club interview, and she addressed everything involving Papoose and Remy casually and respectfully. And Remy's so mad, she just wanted to start I don't even know why you would want to start an argument or even want to get on an aggressive level with one of the greatest female boxers ever. Whatever. Anyways, I thought she handled herself well, and I thought Remy looked like a bozo the clown the way she handled herself. But Pap and Remy really kind of was shifting in a way before this stuff started like really getting out of hand, where it was kind of like, dang, that's unfortunate that that's going down, because it was more media driven. Now, them saying things and taking shots at each other on live for hours and stuff like that, we don't need to put any pieces together. You guys are definitely displaying behavior. And it's crazy because both of them are displaying certain behavior traits that they were accusing each other of prior to it getting to this point, if you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, we didn't know what was true about what he was saying or what she was saying or what the media was saying, but now that they're coming out and saying stuff, we're able to connect the dots, like he might be telling the truth about that or she might be telling the truth about that. But one truth we all know is how stupid they look. Straight up. And the reason why I'm even having this conversation or bringing it up is because it's another negative representation of how our culture gets down. Even when other communities start bringing up other communities, hey, these are the people we competing with. We might want to take a page out of their book so we can win a race for once, right? But the thing is you look at that and it's like, it's us doing that. It's us acting ignorant. But you don't see that on that level. If you see like Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt, you see a magazine saying stuff, or I mean, that's how we grew up with, millennials, magazines. It was he say, she say blog sites. We out here really just confirming the stuff that was written about us. Not even trying to be like, that's not me. Even if it's you just out here like, you know what? Camera on. We got some terrible managers representing our black people in PR, because they should be getting their phones confiscated before they go to sleep or go into the club or outside the club. They need their shit confiscated ASAP, for real. Because y'all do some of the dumbest things on the internet, and because it's the internet, it's going to stay there forever. It's going to stay there forever. Don't believe me? You can still watch the Kim K tape right now. As many things they try to do to silence it and make money off of it. That's all I'm going to say. But, man, black folks, because the crazy thing is this even happens on a lower level, even on social media. There's stories that go viral from the Shade Room and all these other sites of just random couples getting at each other, recording each other, and it going viral. Black folks, again, we are still in front of the camera confirming a stereotype, and that's not even who we really are. But we're not doing a good job of proving that. Right now, Remy Ma and Papoose are probably more known for their drama towards each other and how they're embarrassing their daughter than what they've accomplished in hip-hop. And adding to the buffoonery that goes on in the community. The niglet behavior. Straight up. It's just disgusting, is what I'll say. It's disgusting. It's lame. It's some of the stuff is funny, but it's really whack. It's really all whack. It's whack. But before we get out of here, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. This Diddy trial is wild. We've been covering it here and there on the Notion and spending some time on it. But I don't know. I think at the last minute, I guess Kid Cudi didn't take the stand or whatever the case was. He sent like a pigeon note or something saying, hey, we got to reschedule. I thought that was strange. But following the case and following, Cassie's mom taking the stand and, Diddy out here trying to blackmail her for 20 grand and then giving the money back, I thought that was crazy. Like, I have my thoughts and my theories on how I feel about the case, which I could share more of. But I thought that was wild when they were talking about how they've been finding the guns in his mansion, next to drugs and stuff. There was a lawyer on one of the news segments that I was checking out that talked about it. And he made a good point. Like, yeah, he has a whole bunch of bedrooms, a whole bunch of houses and everything. We don't know who's all living in these houses. And it wasn't to defend Diddy, but it's just to show a point of like how you can't just use an assumption and say that somebody is guilty without proof. Because, yeah, it is his house, but you don't know who's occupying those homes when he's not there. And you don't know if those people also participated in freak-offs and just happen to have that stuff in the house. That's not what we're going to believe, but that don't mean it can't be true. So the stuff that they was finding in this house I thought was crazy. The situation with Cassie's friend, signing the NDA for $30K because she, I guess he threw a wooden hanger at her or something like that. And, of course, her and Cassie aren't friends still to this day, but used to be best friends. That was strange. Of course, people are blowing up this Lauren London situation, saying that they were messing around. People got the story mixed up. They think that she's been messing with him prior to Nipsey passing, and now people feel like he set Nipsey up. I covered this stuff. Y'all know I did on the other episodes. It's just hard for me to believe. I would be shocked. I'm not saying it's impossible. And I know I said on the last episode, nah, I don't think so. You sound crazy. And I still stand on that. But is there a possibility? Yeah. I just think it's crazy because now people are pulling up clips of like Diddy and Nipsey in the studio when he was recording Victory Lap. And they're like nitpicking at every little interaction and how Lauren London was looking for this and looking for that. And it's like, now everybody's a cold case detective, huh? It would be wild. I know her name. I know Lauren London's name was mentioned in the trial. I believe with Cassie, because I know her and Cassie were friends too. If y'all that didn't know, Lauren London and Cassie were friends as well, which is crazy because all of these people that was connected to her is past tense. But now they're just doing this whole Nipsey connection, and it's crazy. It's crazy. He already, Diddy was already implicated in the Keefe D court case, saying that Diddy ordered the hit. So Diddy, it's just not really looking good for him on all sorts of levels. But when they started talking about the things that was going on, I guess Diddy's former assistant testified as well, saying that he was the one that had to kind of clean up the freak offs or get the drugs for the freak offs. That was another thing, sidebar. Some of the drugs that they found in Diddy's house was like ecstasy in the shape of like the Tesla logo. Wow. But yeah, just, back on the whole thing with his assistant. Yeah, like he's going to testify. But the crazy thing is the assistant wanted immunity because some of the things that he was going to testify was probably going to implicate him too. So he wanted immunity without the exception of perjury. And I thought that was interesting. And this is what I was saying on the past episode with this dude, with Diddy's assistant wanting immunity as he testifies what he had to do in his involvement. This is what I was saying recently about it ain't just Diddy. There's more people involved because he can't pull this off by himself. And this is what's pissing me off. This is what I don't like. First of all, how is Diddy on a RICO charge by himself? And then on top of that, you got people testifying that were involved. Now, another thing that happened in this case with Diddy is they had a psychologist come in and talk about trauma and how trauma could be very difficult for the abused person to leave. And then they compared the Diddy tape where he was abusing Cassie and she was kind of in fetal position and how she would describe that's what she would do. The psychologist confirmed that a lot of people will do that, for like I don't want to say a flight or fight response, but more of a coping response. That's how they cope. Now, I understand that, but the crazy thing to me about that is, for starters, when the psychologist came in, Cassie wasn't allowed to testify with that because, that could sway, opinions and things like that. So you just have a psychologist to come in and explain, for more detail and context and understanding. But this is what I was saying with them being people involved and willing participants and how, they got Diddy painted to be Tony Montana. Now, I'm not saying the dude is innocent. He's just Dr. Love, like he's been running around here saying. But what I'm saying is more people were involved and more people contributed and helped Diddy with these freak-offs, right? And they did it because there was an incentive. Again, that's my problem with these type of trials. When it's somebody rich, I was forced against my will because they were rich and powerful. When it's somebody that's poor or somebody that's, living a regular life, you don't hear any of that. It was like straight up, this person told me this one time, or this person had me surrounded at my job. There's details where it's like, yo, this woman couldn't go nowhere. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up, because, again, I stand on this too. I do think Cassie was abused, and I do believe, I have no choice but to believe, especially with the tape showing that happened and the way Diddy was getting down in that video. That was not his first time doing that. So, yeah, of course she's a victim in that. And on a domestic level, hell yeah, I believe she's a victim, and I believe she went through hell with that. But when we talk about people staying, we have to stop saying that every single person that stayed had the same reason. That's actually kind of scary to even want to say that, because there's different types of abuse that happen. And you're taken away from everybody's personal, detailed experience. But some people do stay because of the incentive. And as harsh as that sounds, I could prove it to you right now. Raise your hand if you love your job. Oh, okay. So, for those that don't love their job, you probably can think of 10 million reasons how you feel abused and mistreated and misunderstood and damn near held against your will at this job that I say with air quotes. Why do you stay? Because of the incentive. I got a pension. I got a 401k. I got, it's good money, or it's going to be hard to replace, the income I make. It's union. Whatever your reason is my point. So if we're willing to do that from a job, or we're willing to do that based on where we live, or, why we date somebody, or why we tolerate certain things from our family, it's for incentive. So what makes you think that changes when you get out there in the real world and you have an opportunity to be an actress, an actor, a singer, or whatever? If you guys believe in this Illuminati and stuff like that happens in the music industry, then how could you not believe that some people will take a certain type of punishment and abuse for a financial incentive or for access to a certain lifestyle? Now, Cassie's not the one on trial. We know this. But I'm just posing a question. These things can't happen. There are people out there, and women, for a minute, before you get nasty and upset in the comment section, all of y'all have had at least or have several homegirls that are in a terrible relationship, and the incentive of why your homegirl's still dealing with it, or your cousin, or your sister, or your best friend. You know why. So we can't sit up here and act like that's not going to happen on a level where you're dealing with a billionaire or one of the most popular people in hip hop culture. Again, Cassie's not the one on trial. But why do I make this point? I make this point because the majority of the stuff I've been hearing in this trial is about how nasty Diddy is. Not about trafficking, whether there's drug trafficking, coercion. I mean, they're really, really trying to use Cassie with this whole coercion thing. And my whole point is so far, the only thing that they've been able to prove to me in this trial is that Diddy is nasty as hell. That's it. I know kidnapping is not going to be on the level like Taken with Liam Neeson. I understand that. But based off of these facts, and even even the Dawn Richardson chick from Danity Kane, how she kept changing her story. Her story kept changing, and all of a sudden there was a story where with Neo and Usher was there and all that other stuff. Like, whatever. My thing is, I'm not seeing the proof of the federal charges. And even when bloggers are talking about it and stuff like that, they're going back and are talking about what they think of his image. I don't care about that. If I want somebody to go down for a crime, I don't care about how nasty and how dirty they were and they never washed their drawers. I don't care about any of that. I want to see the proof to get this person locked away. We're spending too much time on talking about how this person don't wash their feet and digging their booty. We too caught up on that. We need to know the facts. He did what? He tied her where? It was talking about how R. Kelly was hog tying. He don't know how to hog tie. Right? That's the stuff I need to hear. Is Diddy innocent? Hell no. But guess what, y'all? He's not on trial for domestic violence. He's on trial for all of this stuff that Rick Ross be rapping about. All right? That's what he's on trial for. So it's getting nastier and nastier for sure. And, you know, they're reading into all of these details. There was another story where somebody said there was a large group of people outside the court wearing black and white Free Diddy t-shirts or Free Puff t-shirts. And then there was a conspiracy now on TikTok that the people that were wearing the Free Puff t-shirts were being paid $20 an hour to pretend like they were really in support of Diddy. I don't know. I don't even think that that's Diddy's team. That might be somebody doing a crazy genius hustle. But yeah, apparently there's people outside the courts during the days of the trial pretending to be Diddy fans and being paid for it. Yeah, this trial it's a little funky to me. The Kid Cudi thing was a little funky to me. The Dawn from Danity Kane was funky to me. The Cassie stories were rough. And for y'all that wasn't following the trials, like, it was rough. Like, they had some dude. This dude was a dude that even had a nickname on there, and I could be getting I don't know. His name was Darkwing Duck or Mandingo, so whatever his name was. He had the Hitman. I think this dude name was the Hitman or whatever, and like his crazy stories. The defense team and the prosecution. It's just a lot of stuff going on with the case that was very interesting. Apparently, they're trying to spin the narrative that Diddy was making Cassie set up and get all these different freak offs set up because it was never him. It always went through Cassie, from what some of the sex workers were saying. But, you know, the prosecution is saying, well, he made her do it. I don't know. I'll say this before. I said this before. I'll say it again. I think Diddy and Cassie was both super down for the freak offs and the people that were involved. I just believe what happened was things started going too far, or maybe that could have been when abuse started to take place between Diddy and Cassie, to where she started changing how she felt about it and was so deep in that she didn't know how to get out of it. That's how I truly feel. I feel like they was both with it. It was both fun to them, and then it got to a point where it wasn't so much for her because of what she was enduring, probably during and before. And you have to go off of the text messages and conversations that they was having during the relationship and even post-relationship. If I was Cassie's husband and I found out like she was still doing all of this stuff while we was together, even though I was there to get her out, she's still going back in and doing that, and we're supposed to be together, and then like him being able to tap in with her like when we're about to have our first child, I don't know if I could rock with that. And for the women out there that feel away, just do the reverse. Do the Uno reverse and pretend like that's your man. Pretend like your man got out of an abusive relationship with some ghetto crazy hyena, and pretend that he gets with you. You understand his value and all of that stuff, but he's still dealing with the hyena. Y'all not dealing with that. Stop playing. Stop playing with me right now. So I just there's little things like that has me scratching my head about this case. Again, Cassie's not the one on trial. Diddy is. But if we're going to use these witnesses like Cassie to make him look or prove that he's guilty, we got to stop talking about the freak offs. I mean, they got the freak off button is stuck. From the time that trial started until every day that they in court, the freak off button is on stuck mode, like a video game. It ain't going nowhere. We need to start seeing more facts. They can character build all they want. It's a 7-week trial. We need to see the facts. That's what we want. We need to see how bad the demon is, if this is a demon we're dealing with, right? But I'm tired of hearing about how nasty he was or they were. And that's what I stand on. But anyways, man, I definitely want you guys to get into this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments and your perspective on this topic or these topics. Let me know how you feel about the Remy Ma Papoose thing. RG3, okay, sisters, I'm starting to understand a little bit more with these brothers out here thinking that because they not with a sister, they doing better in life. I hear you on that. But if y'all don't want them, why does it bother you? I got these questions for y'all. How y'all feel about the Diddy Cassie trial? What do you feel about the Meg and Tory Lanez debacle? Share your comments and your thoughts. Please let me know what you think. I'm your host, Dspill. You've been tuning in to the Notion Podcast. Until next time, peace.